Coffee lovers, listen up because today we're diving into a wild scientific discovery that connects your morning cup of coffee, your hearing, and your future brain health in ways that you've probably never imagined. This is actual peer-reviewed science, and if you love coffee, hate Alzheimer's, and have ever wondered about Parkinson's disease, then what we're about to explore might blow your mind. For a lot of us, coffee isn't just a beverage, it's a lifestyle, a ritual, a sacred start to the day. But what if I told you that after you brew your cup, you actually got something left over that might be even more valuable than the drink itself? Yep, we're talking about used coffee grounds. Normally we toss them out, right? Maybe you compost them, maybe you throw them in the trash, but researchers at the University of Texas at El Paso, shout out UTEP, have found that those leftover grounds could be transformed into something that might help prevent some of those devastating brain diseases of our time. We're talking about Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and other neurodegenerative diseases. And the wild part, it all comes down to something called caffeic acid-based carbon quantum dots, or CAC-QDs for short. Does it sound like something out of a Marvel movie? Absolutely. Is it real, legit science? Also yes. Here's the deal. Researchers discovered that CAC-QDs, tiny nanoparticles formed from used coffee grounds, can do two critically important things inside the human brain. Number one, they act as powerful antioxidants, fighting off the damaging free radicals. And number two, they prevent the clumping of amyloid protein fragments, which is basically a major factor in a disease like Alzheimer's. Let's unpack that a bit. First, free radicals. These are unstable molecules that bounce around in your body, damaging cells, tissues, and DNA. They're associated with aging, cancer, heart disease, and yes, neurodegenerative diseases. Antioxidants are like molecular bodyguards that step in and neutralize those free radicals before they cause damage. Second, amyloid clumping. In brains with Alzheimer's, these sticky proteins group together and form plaques, which disrupt communication between neurons. That's one of the core ways these diseases take hold. So these carbon quantum dots are like tiny superheroes for your brain, neutralizing free radicals and preventing harmful proteins from turning your brain into a tangled mess. And they're made from garbage, literally, used coffee grounds. Trash. How does this magical transformation happen? The process is surprisingly straightforward, at least in lab terms. Researchers heat the coffee grounds to 200 degrees Celsius for 4 hours, which changes the carbon structure of a compound in coffee called caffeic acid. The chemical rearrangement results in the formation of these protective nanoparticles. Simple in theory, powerful in potential. The research team behind this, professor and PhD student whose names I'll put up on screen, say these findings are just the beginning. According to the professor, the goal is to eventually turn this discovery into a pill, an affordable, environmentally friendly supplement that could help prevent most non-genetic neurodegenerative diseases. So instead of paying hundreds or thousands of dollars for invasive treatments after brain damage that has already occurred, we could someday be popping a pill made from recycled coffee grounds to prevent these diseases in the first place. Now, let's pause for a second, because I know what you're thinking. Can I start eating my coffee grounds? No. Please do not do that. This is science, not a recipe. These carbon quantum dots need to be carefully extracted and processed under controlled lab conditions. The grounds themselves won't do you any good straight out of the filter. Might actually be harmful if consumed in large quantities. So don't eat your coffee sludge. Just know that it might be the foundation to a future treatment. And if all of that isn't amazing enough, the whole idea is sustainable. Instead of mining rare minerals or synthesizing expensive compounds, scientists are using something we already waste by the ton every single day. Coffee grounds are plentiful, biodegradable, and cheap. That makes this not just a scientific breakthrough, but also an environmental win. So to sum it up, your morning cup of coffee might someday lead to a breakthrough brain treatment, not because of what's in your cup, but because of what's left behind when you're done. That's part one of the story. Now let's talk about part two. This is where your ears come in. In a completely separate but equally mind-blowing study, researchers from Lancaster University in the UK discovered something wild. Your hearing might be able to predict your risk of Parkinson's disease. Yeah, let that sink in. According to the study, which looked over 159,000 participants using data from the UK Biobank, Every 10 decibel increase in hearing loss was associated with a 57% higher risk of developing Parkinson's disease later in life. That's a huge number. A 57% increase in risk tied directly to how well you can hear. Now, that wasn't just about people turning up the volume in their headphones. The researchers used something called the digit triplet test, a test where participants had to identify numbers spoken over a background of noise. Kind of like trying to pick out someone's voice in a crowded restaurant. And what they found was that people who performed worse on the test were significantly more likely to develop Parkinson's disease down the line. The lead author of the study, Dr. Megan Reedman, says this could change how we detect Parkinson's disease entirely. Because here's the thing about Parkinson's, by the time the classic symptoms show up, like tremors or stiffness, there's already been a ton of damage inside the brain. But hearing loss? That might show up much earlier, which means your ears might actually be giving you an early warning signal, a neurological check engine light, long before the rest of your body knows that something's wrong. And there's more. This isn't just a coincidence. There might be shared biological mechanisms between hearing loss and Parkinson's disease. Things like mitochondrial dysfunction, meaning our cells can't produce energy efficiently, or neurovascular abnormalities, think blood flow issues in the brain, and oxidative stress, that same cellular rust that we talked about earlier with the coffee nanoparticles. All of these factors show up in both hearing loss and Parkinson's, which suggests that the connection is deeper than any surface level symptoms. So why is this good news? Well, for starters, hearing tests are cheap, fast, and non-invasive. We don't need an expensive MRI machine to spot the warning signs. We just need a quiet room and a simple test. This opens the door to a whole new level of early detection. Imagine going in for a routine checkup and getting a quick hearing test, not just to see if you need a hearing aid, but to get an early warning about potential neurological issues years before they develop. That's a game changer. And it doesn't stop there. The researchers believe that this could lead to preventative interventions. If we know someone's at higher risk earlier, we can start treatments earlier, change lifestyles earlier, and possibly slow or stop the progression of the disease. So let's recap everything we just covered. Scientists have found a way to turn used coffee grounds into brain-protecting nanoparticles. These nanoparticles act as antioxidants and prevent the clumping of harmful proteins, both of which are major factors in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. The process is simple, eco-friendly, and cost-effective, with the potential to become a daily supplement to prevent brain disease. In a completely separate study, researchers found that hearing loss might be an early warning sign for Parkinson's disease. The connection could allow for an earlier detection, better treatment, and maybe even prevention of this debilitating condition. Put those two things together and what you have is hope. Hope that through creative, interdisciplinary science, we might finally start turning the tide against neurodegenerative diseases. And this is the future of brain health. It's being built from trash and sound. So here's your homework, if you want to call it that. Keep enjoying your coffee, not just for the taste, but for the science that you're supporting, even if it's still in its early stages. Don't throw away your coffee grounds, compost them, or at least appreciate them a little bit more now that you know that they have hidden value. And number 3, get your hearing checked. Seriously, even if you think it's fine, it's easy, painless, and it might be your body's way of telling you something important about your future. And most importantly, stay curious. Science is finding amazing solutions in the most unexpected places, and what we used to throw away might someday save lives. Thanks for sticking around for the deep dive. And if you found this fascinating, feel free to share it with your coffee-loving or health-conscious friends. And if you ever need a reason to justify your daily latte, well, now you got one. Your coffee addiction? It's research. See you next time, and stay sharp, stay caffeinated, and maybe turn down your headphones just a little.